meet you. Thank you. I'm just going to record a drasha now before davening. You're welcome to listen, and then
it's supposed to be at 7, right?
7 we're davening mincha. So I figured I'd say the drasha before so I can get home in time.
Okay.
Shabbos, everyone. It's wonderful to see such a beautiful crowd here in the Crescent Synagogue here in Rock Hill, New York. I live in Bethel, and over there they've just opened a tattoo parlor. So I was passing by and I said hello, and they said, "Rabbi, you can't come in here. If you get a tattoo, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery." It's not really true, but that's what everybody thinks. So I said, "Don't worry, I don't have any intention to be buried in any cemetery. Don't worry about that." You know, there was Bilam, he said, "Tamus nafshi mois yisharim." He asked if he wanted to die as an upright individual. So I have a lot of people, they come, they want to convert to Judaism. It's a very noble thing to want to convert to Judaism. I have a lot of respect for anyone who wants to convert. And I try to help as much as I can. Someone wants to convert, help them find a good bezdin and so forth. So what happened was someone called me, he said he wants to convert. And I said, "Well, why do you want to convert?" He said, "I want to convert so I could be buried in a Jewish cemetery." I said, "That's not a reason to convert. There has to be more to it." And it wasn't really so serious, I guess. But still, he knew he wanted to die as a Jew, and that's what Bilam said. You know, I remember on The Simpsons there was an episode. The boy Bart, he walked into a tent revival, and the preacher there, he said, "You know, you got to turn your life of sin around." He said, "No, I'm going to make a deathbed confession. I'll go right to heaven." He said, "Yeah, but if you live a righteous life, you'll be covered for unexpected deaths also." I don't want to talk about depressing things, but the Mechaber, the author of the Code of Jewish Law, Rabbi Joseph Caro, the Maran, the Beis Yosef, he said that an angel told him that he would give his life al Kiddush Hashem, which you would think means that he's going to die as a martyr. He came to a ripe old age, and he asked the angel again, he said, "What happened? I thought I was going to die as a martyr." He said, "No, I said you're going to give your life al Kiddush Hashem," and that's what you did. Your whole life was a Kiddush Hashem, was sanctification of God's name. When Bilam said, "I want to die the death of the upright," what he meant, our sages say, the Talmud says in Gemara Avodah Zarah, that he said, like the upright people in the book of Genesis, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Quite often in the Bible, there's references to something Sefer HaYashar, sometimes it's called the book of Jasher, which means the book of the upright. And there is a text that we call Sefer HaYashar, which is a medrash, and it's most likely not the authentic Sefer HaYashar that was spoken of in biblical times. And the fact is, our sages say that actually, when the Bible speaks of Sefer HaYashar, it's talking about the book of Genesis. It's talking about these upright individuals who lived an upright life, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Rabbi Simcha of Hebron, Rabbi Simcha Zisel of Hebron, who was a Hebron Rosh Hashiva in Hebron, he said, why were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, why were they called upright? Why weren't they called righteous, scholars, sages? He said the reason why they were upright was because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they didn't live in a ghetto. They didn't live in a Hamish neighborhood. They lived among the rest of the people. And they were there as a light unto the nations. The whole world should see an example that they provided. Not that they were people who hid themselves. They were a light to the rest of the world. Abraham went and he tried to bring as many people to believe in one God. We have a whole question here with Bilam. You know, what was he all about? I've heard different rabbis, even Orthodox rabbis, the chief rabbi of Ireland on one side, to the left of the Orthodox world, another rabbi from Muncie who was a big political activist and a little bit of an extremist. On the other side, both say something that really, in our tradition, is heretical. Maybe they're just saying it to be nice. I don't know if they really meant it. But they said that we could consider the prophets of other religions to be prophets because Bilam wasn't Jewish and he was a prophet. So the same thing. And it would seem that's based on a text in the Talmud. It says that it says about Moses, when he passed away, that no one arose in Israel like Moses. So when the sages say, among the Jewish people in Israel, no one arose. But among the nations of the world, there did arise. Who? Bilam. That Bilam was as great as Moses. So it would seem he was a prophet like Moses. Respectfully to those rabbis, I have to disagree. And it doesn't mean that we look down on other religions, just the opposite. In the book of Malachi, in the last book of the Bible, the prophet Malachi says, from the rising of the sun to the setting thereof, great is my name among the nations, says the Lord of hosts. That every religion is giving honor to God, even if in those days they were real pagans. And God said, I accept their worship as if they're worshiping me. That's what God says in the Bible, in the book of Malachi. And so therefore, even if they're wrong, God understands, He knows, He created them, He knows their hearts, He knows. So even if we disagree, even we believe to be the truth, we can still have respect for others and recognize even the holiness in their actions and the righteousness in the actions of other religions. But that doesn't mean that we recognize them to be prophets. Because the Kedushas Levi, the Berditchev Rav, he explains, Rav Levi Yitzchak ben Saras Hashem, Berditchev Schusig and Leinu, he explains that what it means is that not when it says that no one came like Moses among the Jewish people, but among the nations of the world there came Bilam. It says in the Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes, that God made one against the other. Zelum zeh asalakim. Whatever there is on one extreme, there exists on the other extreme. So in the extreme holiness and greatness of Moses, that was the extreme wickedness and impurity of Bilam. And anyway, it says that after Bilam, Moses prayed that there shouldn't be any more, even something like a prophet. He didn't say exactly a prophet, but the Hashras Shechina, the divine inspiration, should not exist among the other nations in such a clear way that it did exist by Bilam, but he was not considered a prophet in the sense that he was a holy person. He was very clearly a wicked person based on our sages. Not because he was a non-Jew, but because of his wickedness, because of who he was, because of his deeds, not because of his lineage. And Bilam, why was he even invited? So, why was he invited there to go to speak, to wish a curse on the Jewish people, as we read in the book of Numbers? So it says that Balak, the king of Moab, invited him all the way from Midian, far away, to come to curse the Jews. Why? Because it says, V'yagar mipnei ha'am. He was afraid of the people. V'yakat mipnei bnei Israel. He was disgusted by the children of Israel. He couldn't stand the Jews. The Kedushas Levi also explains that what does it mean that he's afraid of the people? That he was afraid of the ha'am usually means the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. The Bible explains that there came out, when the Hebrews left Egypt, there were other peoples who were enslaved also by the Egyptians. The exodus was not only the Israelites, but it was many other nations came, even possibly more than all the Jews. There came from other nations who were enslaved by Egypt, also made an exodus. With that considered, the Moabites were worried. The Jews are going to come here, and they're going to and the Moabites will be impressed by this upright and righteous nation, and they're going to want to convert. And he didn't like it. He didn't want it. They're going to convert. He didn't want it. So that's why he called Bilam to go curse the Jewish people. And that's really our job, to be those Yesharim, those upright individuals like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who impressed the whole world with their works, that the whole world could see, this is a holy people, I want to be like them. I know a young woman, she was sitting on a train once, and she wasn't Jewish, and a Hasidic couple came on the train. Wife sat next to her, asked her, why are you crying? She wasn't crying a lot, she had a few tears in her eyes. She said, oh, I was working at a store, the store closed down. So I lost my job, I laid off, the store closed down. And she said, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. She got off the bus, and this young woman, she said, this woman knows where she's coming from, knows where she's going. I want what she has. She was raised in the Mormon church, and And she never found spiritual satisfaction there. She knew her family did, she didn't find it. She looked around all different religions, Hinduism, all over the world. She didn't know too many Jews. Her father happened to be a doctor out in Idaho where she grew up, so he knew one or two Jews who lived there, but they didn't know, there was no synagogue, there was no Judaism. They were ethnically, they were Jewish, And so she didn't know, she saw this woman, she was like, wait a second, I can see how her husband's dressed, how she's dressed. They're Hasidic Jews, I heard of them, let me look. And she said, this is what I'm looking for my whole life. She worked very hard, she converted, she got married to a guy who talks too much, it's me. And we have beautiful kids, all because someone had that care to look on someone else. And to have a feeling in their heart, I'm here for you. I'm here just to care about someone else, have sensitivity for another human being. That's what Abraham did. He went around the whole world. But our sages make the difference between the students of Abraham and the students of Balaam. And so we see from what we said before that our job is to live a life of Kiddush Hashem. Like that woman she lived a life, she accepted that, and that made it an impression. She didn't even know. My wife didn't even know this woman on the train. She never met her again. She's gone and told her story in countless places. She never met her again. It was written up in magazines, in Yiddish, and English, and everywhere, and on phone lines and the internet. She never found this woman. And this woman probably has no idea that just by having that sensitivity and care for another human being, what she did, she turned someone's whole life around. That one meeting. Bilam, on the other hand, he didn't have that. He was concerned only Tamus Nafshi Moisi Sharim. He wasn't looking to live a life of Kiddush Hashem. He was just looking that at the end, he should live a wicked life and find a way in the end to turn around, because he knew it was still the right way. And because of that, like we said, that how high Moses was and how low Bilam was, that's the difference between the two. We can see very plainly that Bilam was not a prophet. What Bilam ran was strictly a non-profit organization. Shabbos. I hope it recorded. I don't know, I didn't press the button yet.